Happy homecoming, Bulldog fans, and a very happy homecoming for Mississippi State football with a 40-17 victory over Arkansas. The number 23 Bulldogs are now 5-1 on the season. They'll move up from their number 23 ranking this week. They're 2-1 in the SEC. Steve, they've been frustrated for a couple of years by Arkansas, but they got a lot of demons out of the way, or should I say hog demons out of the way today.
Well, I love a pig roast this time of year, David. I mean, weather's starting to turn a little bit. Leaves are changing on us. It's always good to, have a pig roast. And to be quite honest with you, Mississippi State is better than Arkansas. Mississippi State was better than Arkansas in 2020. Mississippi State was better than Arkansas in 2021. The difference today is Mississippi State demonstrated their superiority. They didn't leave it up in the hands of the officials. Mississippi State came out in the first quarter, punched Arkansas squarely in the mouth, and dared them to get up. It's as simple as that. And Mississippi State now first quarter scoring this year, 66-7. Last year, Mississippi State bemoaned and struggled through the first quarters. Most games getting down 2 scores, having to battle back. This Bulldog team is well coached, and they're demonstrating that early in ball games.
I know Steve didn't mean to, throw any aspersions on the officiating. I will, because I thought the best tackling done by Arkansas today was by their offensive line, holding Bulldog defenders. It could have been a much more decisive victory for the Bulldogs in that regard. Still, a little adversity brought out the best in the Bulldogs. As Mike Leach, Will Rogers, as I said, you talk about 20, you talk about 21. This is a mature team with veterans of those 2 games that knew they were better. They made themselves better today and showed it emphatically.
They did, David. I think you go back and look at 2020. State had, 3 empty red zone trips, and you had a chance to get back in the ball game. After that big Jaden Wally punt return, you don't cash in. KJ Costello melts out here on this field, is never the same. Then you had that crazy holding penalty last year on Martin Emerson that could have basically determined the ball game. And the reality of it is that State needed to get out of its own way and not make it a 1-score game. They did that. KJ Jefferson didn't play, but I will say this. The young quarterback Hornsby from Arkansas has I don't know if I would go say better, not yet. He has a very bright future, and he has some big play potential. Now, KJ will be back, but I think Arkansas fans, probably the silver lining today is the fact that you realize you've got a future with this kid. And Mike Leach just, gushed over him, and that Leach doesn't do that very often. And I thought that was very classy by the coach, but his words absolutely rang true today. That kid is very, very special.
A group that deserved gushing about today, Mississippi State's offensive line. Yes, Arkansas is a physical team. You knew their secondary was vulnerable, and Will Rogers certainly took advantage of that. They're mixed in the run game better than ever, rushing records high for Mike Leach's team here at Mississippi State. But it was the way State attacked that Arkansas front. Yes, a 3-man front, but remember, 2 years ago, those 3 men were beating State's 5. Bulldog blocking has come so far in these 2 seasons, and Will Rogers, as you said in postgame, he had the cleanest uniform on the offensive team.
He did, and it's 2 weeks in a row, no sacks by a makeshift offensive line, and that says a lot about Mason Miller, but also to the guys he's coaching. Dollar Bill Johnson goes down. We hear he should be back next week, but hey, do you play him? I mean, Nick Jones the last 2 weeks, probably the shortest offensive tackle in the Southeastern Conference, going up against the best edge rushers in the SEC, has not allowed a sack in back-to-back weeks. And, A&M is a different running team, a different defensive front. They're a little bit beefier in the middle and maybe a little bit more 5 techniques. This Arkansas group is really more 7 long technique type guys. They're more rangy. They want to beat you on the edge rush. Well, Mississippi State never really gave them an opportunity. State ran between the tackles. State was able to get outside of them. And so they used their aggressiveness against them, which led to Dylan Johnson getting 100 yards rushing, the first time that a Bulldog has run for 100 yards since the 2019 Egg Bowl when Colin Hill did it.
And we do love remembering that one, too, as well. You talk about edge. Will Rogers twice scrambled. And I'd had a chance to talk to Jordan Rogers, not spelled the same, yesterday, about Will Rogers' ability to, it looks like, and you and I, maybe if they're saying, run for the ball, run for the sticks, get that first down. He waits. These receivers keep running the play. They don't give up the play. Will Rogers does not give up on the play. You saw what Nick Jones did to keep plays alive on that edge, and twice it resulted in touchdowns.
It did, and I thought Justin Robinson, Jaden Wiley, Austin Williams, all did a good job communicating with the quarterback, working back to him. I think Will shows a good job of having pocket mobility. I mean, he's a guy that he's not going to go run for a first down very often, but he is enough of an athlete that he can buy some time for himself, and he did. To throw to Jaden Wiley today, I mean, if Willa does 5 less push-ups, that's an interception, right? I mean, it could not have been better. I think it actually went off the Arkansas defender's hands, and what a great job by Jaden Wiley to maintain focus. But Will is just that guy that can buy some time and keep plays alive, but he does want to throw the football rather than run it.
It's fascinating, too, how he used different receivers. I know early in the game, Austin Williams. And, of course, Austin had an incredible catch, a reminder that he's an old dog. Just because he had a rough stretch there in September, don't give up on Austin Williams, especially around the goal line. But he also made plays and gains after catches early. Second half, they come to Rufus Harvey. He's breaking things up the middle because Arkansas is getting spread out by Caleb Ducking, Ra Thomas, and Jaden Wally, as you mentioned. Rogers just found the right guys. But I keep on stressing the receivers are doing such a better job beating these zone-type defenses, and Arkansas had no answer.
Well, David, 2 years ago, I mean, let's be honest, until Mike Leach got here, there probably hadn't been a Mississippi State wide receiver in the history of the program that had saw a lot of zone coverage because everybody was committing more safeties to the box to stop the running game, to stop Anthony Dixon, to stop the zone read, to stop Dak Prescott and Josh Robinson. So those guys had to learn how to play against the zone, how to settle, how to uncover, how to find the soft spots in the zone. Well, they've done that now. It's taken them 2 years, but they've done that. You saw some progress last year, but we're seeing the maturation of the air raid, and that's the thing. Back in 2020, all these hot takes and all these idiots that fashion themselves as sports writers, now it's like, where are they now? So the air raid won't work in the SEC? Well, the air raid's working just fine. Mississippi State scored 39 points or more in 5 of their 6 games. The one they didn't is a game they lost down at LSU.
And not only that, this offense is now nearly perfect in the red zone. I believe 20 of 22 for the season, and with 19 of those being touchdowns. Yes, place kicking remains an issue, as we remind again. Maybe that red zone success, they should start considering going for 2 points every time. Sorry, Coach. But let's turn to the defense. Arkansas, yes, they were mixing a new quarterback in who showed some explosiveness. Raheem Sanders, SEC's leading rusher, he got his yards. But the Bulldogs were able to keep them under control, and most of all, they stopped them on 4th downs and in goal line situations when they knew Arkansas was going to come with the run.
Well, I don't know that he did get his yards. He was 4 of 5 games this year. He had gone over 100 yards. He didn't today. Now, granted, when the game was decided in the 4th quarter, he wasn't in there. I mean, they did play some younger guys, so let's be in full disclosure there. But the reality of it is, State did a good job against him. I do think, that he is such a big physical athlete. He is a special football player and will probably play football for a long time, provided he stays healthy. But I thought State did a good job of kind of making him one-dimensional early in the game. And I think Fortin is just a guy that it's just kind of a throwaway deal, and I hate to be disrespectful to a young man. I just don't think that he's dynamic enough to win in this conference, and I think you got to go with Mosley if you have to. But KJ should be back next week, and he's a Mississippi native, and we want him to make a full recovery. I mean, you hate to see any young person get injured, but especially a kid from Mississippi that we all have had a chance to cover and kind of get to know. You certainly hate to see those guys be sidelined. Thankfully, it looks to just be a one-week deal. But the reality of it is Bulldog defense came to play again today, gave up some yards, didn't give up many points.
Of course, you noticed Arkansas early went to a really tempo. I mean, they were getting the line as soon as the ball was placed there, not letting State substitute. And quite a few times the Dog defense really wasn't set by the time the ball snapped. Even so, even in some of the situations, they made the stops. They held their gap integrity. They did what they had to do. They got support. They made tackles. They made tackles on the first chance many times, too. Just a really good all-around effort. And a show, let's give credit to the strength staff. Tyson Brown had those guys ready to play repeated snaps against a team that was really going to come at them very fast and furious.
Yeah, and 2 picks today and a couple turnovers on downs. I mean, those are game changers, David. I mean, it's like, especially to one Emmanuel Forbes in the end zone there. I mean, listen, the game was probably decided at that point, but that really removed all doubt. Emmanuel Forbes, what can we say? I mean, the guy's an All-American. I mean, he may not get the accolades he deserves. He is one of the best cornerbacks to ever wear the Mississippi State uniform, and he shows it week in and week out, and everybody sees him on tape, and you should avoid him. And somehow, some way, people keep testing him, and he keeps making them pay.
So Mississippi State, 40-17 victors over the Arkansas Razorbacks here on Scott Field for homecoming. Now it's on to Kentucky, 7:30 game time, Eastern time next weekend. Steve, you and I will be there for the game as well. Bulldogs will have a busy practice week, but 5-1, 2-1 SEC, you're back on track. You'll never get over the LSU loss to some extent, but they've done a great job putting it behind them. And, again, another reflection of the maturity of this team because, as Will Rogers himself said, Previous teams, they might have carried that loss into them for several games. They haven't. They've treated each game as a new week. They've come back. They punched out 2 SEC West rivals. Now it's time to go on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing now. We talk about going 1-0 each week, and that's kind of the mantra around here. Last couple of times Mississippi State's gone to Lexington, they have not played well. And give Kentucky some credit for that, but a lot of that has been Mississippi State. This team, I think, is more mature. I think when Leach went up there in 20, it's the only time in his career he didn't score an offensive point. And so whether the coach wants to say it or not, that'll motivate him too. And I think this team will be ready to go. And this Kentucky team, we don't know the status of Will Levis. I don't know if he's playing today. But this is a team that Mississippi State, despite the fact that it's on the road, and despite Mike Nemeth is a huge Kentucky fan, the Bulldogs should be able to go there and take care of business. And Mike is our cameraman, so I'm teasing him a little bit. It's just an inside joke here at the Gene's Page crew. But if State plays up to their potential next week, there is no reason to believe they shouldn't be 6-1 going to Tuscaloosa.
And it would be excellent to be bowl eligible before you even through the October part of the schedule. Of course, State's on the road consecutive weekends here with a trip to Alabama after that. But things are taking great shape right now for Mississippi State football and Mike Leach. We'll save the kicking talk until probably next week when we go over some things. Not a perfect game, but then that's the kind of thing that this program's been building on now. They take those imperfections and improve them for the next week. So if they keep making progress, we feel good about our trip to Kentucky. We'll be talking to you during this course of this week. Our team, Mike, will have his AP story already up there. Steve, you've worked on your game report. Robbie and Paul are in there finishing up their features, and I've got a couple stories to post as well. A lot of good reading tonight, a lot of good news to follow about the Bulldogs this weekend. But I want to say again, for all of us elder dogs and alumni, a happy homecoming to all, and a happy homecoming to you fans that didn't even attend. Join the fun because 2022 season is shaping up a lot of fun. For Mike Nemeth, for Steve Robertson, and our Gene's Page 24/7 team, this is David Murray from Scott Field saying, have a great homecoming weekend, guys and gals.